Hi, I'm Joe Butt, and you are watching Joe Butt TV. This is my third clip with my interview with Chris Barrow, business coach, business guru, entrepreneur in his own right, and expeditionist. A lot of traveling and a lot of TV appearance, etc., etc. The third question, third tip that I want to ask Chris is for the dentists who have been business owners for a while. They feel that they have taken the practice to as far as they could. They've hit in Chris Barrow's terms, a glass ceiling. They don't know where to go from here. They feel that they've reached a plateau. The plateau could be reflected in their clinical skills, in their business skills. They're kind of a dental midlife crisis. That's my term that I'm coining.
Yeah.
A dental midlife crisis. So Chris, take it over. In my personal opinion, my initial knowledge of your life as a business coach was for this group. Maybe I've misinterpreted it, but you were one of the top guys to take on these people who have reached a rut and then open their eyes to see a different aspect that they didn't see before.
Yeah.
You know, or think of a complete paradigm shift to make them understand their business better. So Chris, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Joe. It's interesting that you use the word paradigm shift because therein lies, I think, really a lot of the tip that we're going to be talking about in this particular clip. And one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that the dental midlife crisis is a reoccurring event.
Sure.
In other words, you're not going to have one of these during a whole career. What's going to happen is that it's actually a circular process. Now, frankly, I don't have the time within the context of a short video clip because this is a subject which fascinates me. I am fascinated by what makes people tick. And there's an amazing book by a psychologist who has sadly now passed away, but the late Frederick Hudson wrote a book called Life Launch, and the subtitle of the book is A Passionate Guide to the Rest of Your Life.
Right.
Now let me tell you that book was published way back in 1998 and I read the first edition, and earlier in 2017, so that's 19 years later, I was on a desert expedition in Oman for a month and I took that book with me. And I reread that book 19 years after my first reading, and when I'd finished reading it, there were 7 of us on the expedition, and we were passing the book round and reading it. And it's one of my favourite books, and you know, it may be as part of this we can just kind of give people a tip.
I'm happy to.
So
Yeah.
Now, what Frederick Hudson talked about was a thing that he calls the renewal cycle. And the renewal cycle is that one of the things that you and I have in common is that we're what I call questers. We love a quest. And a quest can be building a quest can be buying that first business, or a quest can be qualifying for the first time, or a quest can be, okay, I'm now going to go for an MSc. Or a quest can be, I'm now going to go for a second business location or a bigger business location. But also, a quest can be, I'm going to run my first marathon, or I'm going to play my first round of golf on a particular course, or whatever it is. And we thrive, we feed on those quests. And when we're climbing our Everest, when we're running our marathon, we're at our finest. But that comes with a price. And the price is that when we achieve our quest, we're a nightmare to live with. Because we plant the flag in the top of that Everest, we cross that finish line and we get that medal, and we have this endorphin rush that lasts for a day, an hour, a week, and then we wake up one morning and we go, well, is that it? Is that it?
Yeah.
So I've climbed Everest. Well, is that it? And it's the moment when we get to is that it that is one of the most dangerous moments in our lives, because what now begins, and Frederick Hudson has a term for this, he calls it moving into the doldrums, because having achieved Private Dentistry Practice of the Year award, having achieved the MSc, having achieved the beautiful building and premises, and we've got the team right and we've hit our sales target, we now go in the doldrums and oh my God, is that it? And there's a period of introspection that Hudson calls cocooning. We go inside ourselves and we think, oh my God, I've got to sort myself out. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do the rest of my life. By the way, at this particular moment in time, everybody else in the business doesn't want to be anywhere near you. Neither does anybody else at home. None of your friends want to go out for a drink with you because you're a pain in the neck, talking about how stuck you are. And actually, what I've discovered personally and what I've discovered working with clients over the years is that we have to work through that.
Yeah.
And it's just a question of trying to work through it as quickly as possible and getting to the next stage. And the next stage is what Frederick Hudson calls getting ready. Mm-hmm. And what happens is we say, okay, now I'm getting ready. I've decided I'm going to get ready for the next phase in my life. So having climbed Everest, what am I going to do? And we start looking around. We start looking around for the next challenge. And the next challenge might be clinical. Mm-hmm. The next challenge might be in entrepreneurship. The next challenge might be completely outside of our professional and business life. We might decide that our next challenge is to build a hospital in India, or our next challenge is to cycle from Land's End to John O'Groats, or whatever it is. But we spend some time researching, and then we make a decision, and this is the final section that Hudson describes as going for it. So we wake up one morning and we announce to the world, the next thing I'm going to do is...
Yeah, and then that becomes your next...
And at that point, we are lovable again because we're back on our quest.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting thing about the glass ceiling, okay, which is that people don't contact me at the glass ceiling point because anything's broken. They contact me because everything's working and they've lost their mojo. They've lost their passion. They've lost the drive. And there's this passion and this energy that sits within them which has no focus, no target. So the coaching is about taking the client by the hand and saying, okay, let's walk through the doldrums together. And let's walk through cocooning together, and let's get you into getting ready as fast as we can, and then look around and decide what it is. And so what it is might be as simple as building an extra surgery. I recently had a meeting with some clients in a 2-surgery practice who have absolutely maxed out everything that we can do. And having looked at all of the alternatives, and by the way, they've gone down the digital dentistry route, they've got every bit of kit you could ever imagine, they've gone down the marketing route, the marketing is exemplary, and the owner is there going, but what about 2018? And we decided that 2018 was about building surgery 3. And building surgery 3 is going to require quite a bit of effort because the building constraints, and so the decision was made, we're going to build surgery 3, and all of a sudden the client's on quest again. So there's a little example. The next example might be the client who's got a big multi-surgery practice who decides, actually, okay, I've done everything I can do under this roof, and the moment of truth is when they decide they're going to go hub and spoke. And so I've built this centre of excellence, and what I'm now going to do is I want to build up 5, let's say this centre of excellence is turning over 2 or 3 million out of multiple chairs, but we can't do any more with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy 5 practices from retirees over the next 5 years, 1 a year for the next 5 years. I'm going to end up with 5 3-surgery practices. The retirees are going to move on. I'm going to groom associates who are going to become owners, possibly on a partnership basis in each of those spokes. And so my 3 million practice will become 3 million plus half, 1.5 to 2.5 million hub and spoke model. And as soon as the client has got that vision of the hub and spoke, boom, they're off. They're on the quest. All right. Or the client turns around to me and says, I've done everything, so now I need to build a hospital in India, or now I need to get myself marathon fit. And do you know what, Joe, a little known fact, sometimes I'm working out marathon running schedules for my clients and saying, okay, let's make sure that you keep to your schedule. Or sometimes I'm helping the client with a charitable CSR project, and I'm doing that off-piste in the sense that, you know, it's not appearing on social media. All right, so I know that's taken quite a lot of time, but
no, that's perfect. I completely get it. I understand it now, and that next quest does not even have to be clinical.
No.
You know, I mean, we see it on Facebook pages. You know, there's a Facebook page for dentists who are enthusiastic in cars, in watches, in setting up charitable events, like you said, in India or any other orphanages in Africa. It could be one of any passion, which then reinvents themselves in the clinical practice. So, you know, it suddenly they're not hitting a ceiling anymore because they have an extra mojo.
Yeah, and you know you're there
Yeah.
when that alarm call goes off in the middle of the winter and it's dark and it's cold and you're up and you're out of bed and it's let's do it.
Yeah.
And you walk in through the door of the practice in the morning and it's morning everybody and it's let's do it. And it might not be, you know, you might be in that frame of mind because you've done a great training run this morning before you came into the practice, or you might be in that frame of mind because you've submitted a dissertation as part of an advanced postgraduate course and you've just had the marks back and the marks were great, you know. So I'm not worried about where the client is getting fed from.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that the client is getting fed. But there's one thing I do want to say, which is let's just spend a couple of minutes at the end of this clip talking about the client that says, okay, well, I've reached the glass ceiling in the business and I ain't running any marathons anytime soon. I just want the business to get better.
Yeah.
So let me tell you that almost without exception, when the problem that manifests itself is the business expanding, almost without exception, the solution to the next phase of growth is the creation of a management team below the principal. And there's a very, very common glass ceiling, which is that I've reached the limit of everything I can do myself. And sometimes the trouble is that in order to get there, they've learned how to do everything themselves.
Yeah.
And so actually, delegating to a management team is a huge psychological leap.
For sure. Yeah.
You must know this, Joe. The first time you started bringing managers into your business, how scary
Totally.
that is.
Totally. You're relying on a third party, so the trust factor can only come with time, but you want the results instantaneous. Two, I think I'm sure you'll agree. One of the issues that we have in dental practice in the UK is that as the business grows, they're still relying on that one practice manager stroke manageress to run a bigger and bigger and bigger ship, whilst again no business advice has been given at any stage to say the business is too big. Virgin does not just have one manager who answers back to Richard Branson. No, he has a whole structure. So as the business grows, surely you need more than one person. Last thing you want to do is over reliance on one person. You want to have a little business strategy, a business, you know. So even the management team know that nobody's indispensable.
And an observation of mine is that if you look at dental practices, dental businesses, 500,000 turnover, one manager, 1 million turnover, two managers, 1.5 million turnover, 3 managers, 2 million turnover, 4 managers.
Okay,
it almost goes up.
Okay,
in
that
£500,000
makes sense.
steps.
That makes sense.
And what's happening is that you actually started with 5 disciplines. You started with finance and marketing and customer service and treatment coordination and clinical ops and non-clinical ops and HR. And at the 500,000 level, there was one long-suffering person who was doing all those things.
Correct.
But then when somewhere down the line, when you're turning over the millions, you can have 4, 5, 6 people who are handling all of those disciplines. And for me, in business terms, the single most significant psychological breakthrough is that decision to trust the management team to get the job done whilst you are in your cave doing the dentistry, and also to trust the management team that they're going to have the expertise. A friend of mine who owned a multi-location business once said something, and he said, whenever I hire a manager, one of the things that I say to him is, let me explain to you what it's going to be like working here. And he said, you're going to make 100 decisions a day. And he said 96 of those decisions you're going to make by yourself, and I won't even know that you've made the decision. He said 4 of those decisions, at the end of the day, you're going to run it past me just to tell me what you did. Sure. And one of those decisions, you're going to come to me at the end of the day and say, you need to make this decision. And he said, your success as a manager will depend upon figuring out which of the 96, which of the 4, and which is the one. Isn't that great?
That's amazing. That's very, very good. And in this cycle, to finish off this tip side of things, in this cycle, presumably, the author of the book has said you need to reduce the doldrum phase and the cocoon phase.
That's it.
And keep the getting ready, which is the exciting bit, setting goals, setting targets, setting the quest.
Yeah.
And then spend most of your time in that bit and achieving your goal.
I had a meeting recently with a client of mine who is literally in the process of selling his practice to a corporate, and we'll be talking about that later on. But I've been advising him, and I was with him on the Thursday, and the deal was going through on the Friday, and it was like, after all these years, number 1, he hands over the keys to the kingdom. Number 2, the check arrives in the bank. And I was having a meeting with him, his wife, and his practice manager. And by the way, he's sticking on as an associate after he's sold. And I said, okay, deal done. Yeah. All we're doing now is waiting for the lawyers to stop firing arrows at each other, and then the deal's done. I said, can I ask you a question? And he said, what is it? And I said, how long have you decided to be miserable for? And his wife looked at me like this, and the practice manager, and they said, what do you mean? I said, let me guarantee you this. I said, that check's going to go in the bank on Friday. Yeah. He's going to have a glass of wine on Saturday, and on Monday morning he'll be miserable because he'll be driving into work going, well, is that it then? I said, you better get yourself ready. And we went into that conversation. And
again, keeping the doldrum short, again, keeping the cocoon short, and then finding the new quest.
That's it.
Fantastic.
So part of my job is to coach the client through that miserable phase as well. Let's get this over with and get moving on. Yeah.
This is Chris Barrow, and that is what he's been talking about on helping people who have reached a glass ceiling, the dentists who have reached a midlife crisis in their professional careers. You are watching Jobat TV. Wait on and tune in for our 4th video where Chris talks to us about what I might be going through very, very soon, maybe the next decade, exit strategies. Hi, I'm Jobat, and thank you for watching my channel. For more interviews with dentists, amazing implant surgeons, business leaders, entrepreneurs, people who think outside the box and create paradigm shifts in which the way we think, follow me on Jobat TV. I look forward to seeing you then.